Hi, how are you?
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course, no problem.
So, I guess before we start, we haven't met before. So, can you please tell me a little bit about yourself, how long you've been with the department?
Sure. My name's Daniel Hayes. That's Hays. There's no E in it.
Okay.
I'm the administrative lieutenant here for the department. So included in that is I'm also the public information officer.
Okay.
And then I'm in charge of recruiting and records and internal affairs, investigations, and property and evidence and everything else.
So,
So
just a little bit of everything,
a
huh?
little bit of everything. I wear many hats. I'm basically over everything that doesn't wear a badge these days. I was a patrol lieutenant for 3 years, and now I've moved into this position. So I've been here for almost 19 years. January will be 19 years. Done a little bit of everything with the police department. Was a patrol officer, was a detective sergeant, patrol sergeant, and now I'm here as a lieutenant.
Okay. Do you love your job?
Yeah, yeah, sure do. I'm getting fairly close to retirement, probably about 20 months or so. But getting a little old to be doing this, but yeah, I've loved what I've done. I enjoy working with the department.
Oh, good. Okay, well, I just want to thank you for talking with me today. I really appreciate it. So, I've been looking at license plate readers and flock cameras across the state and just kind of some of the trends that are going on. So, being able to talk to someone who works with this is very helpful in me understanding this whole process. So, a little bit of housekeeping before we start. Can you please tell me how many license plate readers do you have and how many cameras total do you have in Prescott Valley?
Sure, we have 22 license plate readers. They're on roadways throughout the town. And then we have 7 live view cameras with the police department, and those are basically at one of our parks where in the past we've had some crime issues. And those are cameras that our police officers can pull up whenever there's words of possibly a disturbance or something over at the park. And then there's a few other cameras that are around the civic center here, but they actually don't belong to the police department. They belong to Parks and Rec and that sort of thing.
Okay. And does Prescott have flock cameras as well?
They have some license plate readers as well. I don't know how many, and I don't know if they're Flock or a different
Okay.
provider.
Okay. Are they one of your sharing partners?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, great. And then let's talk about population in Prescott Valley and then what your coverage area is. Because when I go back and I look at the meeting minutes, there's discussion of 89A and 69. I mean, do you have a pretty big area that you cover?
Yeah, we sure do. The town of Prescott Valley, we're now the last census, we were at like 51 or 52,000. We're probably more than that. We're probably more like 55 or 56,000 population in the town. Of course, that ebbs and flows with people leaving and coming in for work during daytime and that sort of thing. Um, we have a very large geographical footprint. Our jurisdiction runs from the intersection of Highway 69 and Highway 169 in our southeast, all the way to on Highway 69 in the Diamond Valley area heading towards Prescott in the west. And then in the northwest, we have Highway 89A that goes between Prescott and the Prescott Valley, Prescott Airport and Prescott Valley. And then we go almost all the way up to Mingus Mountain on Highway 89A, heading towards Jerome. So we have a huge geographical footprint.
Okay. And then, I know, like, I live in Goodyear and we're understaffed with
Yeah.
police, that kind of thing. How is your staffing there in Prescott Valley?
We are slotted to have 88 officers at the police department. And right now we are staffed at 83 or 84 officers. That includes a few that are still going through field training and two that are in the academy right now. So
Okay.
we're we're okay. We're not. We would love to be 100%. Any police department would love to be 100%. We're in a better staffing position than most departments right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you like working with AI in today's day and age?
I mean, it's such a change for me. Okay. I was originally working in law enforcement as an Army military policeman in the 90s. And and then we were still handwriting reports at that point. And then I became a police officer with Prescott Valley Police Department in 2007. And we were just using basically Microsoft Word as our reporting. And we didn't have tablets. There was no license plate readers, anything like that. We didn't have body worn cameras, which is on my vest back here. We have our body worn cameras. And so the technological advances have been just crazy, and they're hard to keep up with. But they're all for good reasons, and they do great things. But it's staggering, the changes. And like, I've got relatives that were police officers back in the 60s and 70s, and I talk to them now about the things that we have and we do and the capabilities that we have now, and they are just floored with the technological changes. So I'm not the most technologically sound person in the world personally. I'm almost 60 years old. And so, my sons always laugh at me because I have to get them to help me with my phone, that sort of stuff like that. So, it's different, and it's all for, I mean, the advances in the ways that we can keep our community safe are just staggering, but they're great.
You know, one of the things I was thinking about is as far as Prescott Valley, you're a town.
Mhm.
And you do have the 55, 56,000 people where a lot of the cities in Arizona and across the country using the license plate readers and the flock cameras. They're pretty big municipalities. But you have a lot of this technology that you're using there. Do you feel that you're kind of on the forefront of using this? I mean, is this typical for a town your size to have this kind of technology and this much of it?
Well, I mean, don't let the description of Prescott Valley being a town confuse you with how large we are and how modern we are. I mean, uh, Gilbert, Arizona still is the town of Gilbert, and they're 250,000 people or something like that. So, we're a fairly large, growing area for sure. Are we on the forefront? I don't think so. We were one of the last agencies in the state of Arizona to get body worn cameras. We just got those about 5 years ago. We were way behind there. We were by no means the first community in Yavapai County to have license plate readers. Prescott had them before us. Cottonwood had them before us. And so I don't believe we're on the forefront at all. But we certainly are trying to keep up with times to do everything we can to protect our community. Our two of our main goals for the Prescott Valley Police Department are to reduce crime and the fear of crime, and to improve traffic safety. And I think that a lot of our technological advances that we've um, started using in the last few years really help us to meet those goals.
Okay, so I want to walk through this timeline
Mhm.
with you. I thank you for sending over the notes to me. I
Yes.
appreciate that. I have some tough questions in here, and I don't want you to get the impression that I'm anti-police, because that's not it at all. I'm very pro law enforcement. These are just questions that I have
Okay.
with this technology. So let's start with the timeline. November 2022, you say Flock reached out to your department.
Mhm.
So it wasn't that your department reached out, it was Flock contacted you about the technology and a potential partnership?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that happened. I wasn't involved with any of those conversations at that time. One of our assistant chiefs, and then, as the note said, Lieutenant Corcoran, were the two officers involved in that. I don't know exactly if it was them reaching out to us or us reaching out to them, or a mutual. I don't know exactly.
Okay. But he had experience in the Phoenix Police Department with the Flock cameras, correct?
Well, I don't think Phoenix uses Flock. They use a different provider. I'm pretty sure. You can check me on that.
Okay.
But he had experience with license plate readers for sure.
Okay. So a month later, and then I have my notes here. So a
Uh-huh.
month later, the town submitted a request to the Arizona Department of Emergency and Military Affairs, and DEMA
Hmm.
is what we'll call that, for a grant for license plate readers and unmanned aerial systems, drones,
Right.
with the purpose to enhance surveillance. And then a month after that, license plate readers were mentioned in the Prosperous Community Study session.
Mhm.
And then in May, it was mentioned again in a slide in the budget review. Do you feel that there was ever really a public discussion about
There,
license plate readers?
there absolutely was. Now the communications at that point were between the department and our town's elected officials and our town management, so our town manager. Okay. But we had, before we ever agreed to bring in the LPRs or to put the LPRs up, we on January 20th, so that's the council study session, the Prosperous Community
Hmm.
is that's an open, all of our council sessions, whether they're study sessions or they're general sessions, are all open to the community. And they're all recorded and also televised on our local system. The only times that they aren't is when the council holds an emergency session, which that was not.
Okay. June 2023, you get the notification that you're awarded the DEMA grant. But the grant specifically says here for equipment and for activities related to the prosecution and imprisonment of individuals charged with drug trafficking, human smuggling, illegal immigration, and other border related crimes. So with I talked to DEMA, I didn't talk to DEMA. I emailed questions over to DEMA and they responded to me yesterday. And they had said that the grant funds specifically have to be used for this purpose. The license plate readers are being used in your entire community, and there was discussion of aggressive drivers. And so people that may not follow into these border related crimes. Do you have funding from other organizations or city funding that allows you to expand the surveillance on all citizens? How does that work?
Um, I'm not exactly sure. We have multiple grants that we use to pay for, especially the first several years of our LPR system. I'm not exactly sure which all those grants are. I am not involved in the grants and receiving and applying for grants within the department, so I'm not
Okay.
familiar with that.
Okay.
Um, I know that for the DEMA grant specifically, one of the things that the LPRs have been used for is in prosecution of drug crimes.
Mhm.
And that fits specifically into that DEMA grant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if you have an opportunity to maybe look into those other grants and see if they have expanded use.
Yeah, I
outside of
can
that.
definitely do that. Unfortunately, the guy who's responsible for all those is on vacation this week and not back till next week. So I wouldn't be able
Okay.
to get an answer for that for you until next week. And I know you've got your presentation on Friday with the radio stations.
Okay. Okay. So I wanted, I make sure I double check everything.
Yeah,
So, okay. So now we go into August. Assistant Chief, is it Edelstein? Is that correct?
Edelstein, yes.
Edelstein. Presents to the town council to present a 12-month pilot program. And he gives an example about tracking plates in a potential burglary. And he
Mhm,
says, an example would be if one of our detectives has probable cause to arrest an individual that's committing residential burglaries, but they haven't obtained a warrant yet.
mhm.
Or perhaps they haven't gone through that step to get a vehicle entered. And then they can, with probable cause, enter that vehicle's license plate into the system. And if we see it, we can apprehend the burglar locally, even though it's not part of that national database yet.
So again, there's two databases we compare to. I mentioned the CGIS and NCIC. There's also a hot list. So that's more of a localized list that each agency that maintains its own automated license plate reader system employs. And so an example would be if one of our detectives has probable cause to arrest an individual that's committing residential burglaries, but they haven't obtained a warrant yet, perhaps, or they haven't gone through that step to get that vehicle entered. They can, with that probable cause, they can enter that vehicle's license plate into the system. And then if we see it, then we can apprehend that burglar locally, even though it's not part of that national database yet. In addition to that, we can also do a historical search and look at past data on that vehicle. So again, same detective working a burglary case, if he's got 12 different locations he suspects of that individual and that vehicle in particular being involved in burglaries, perhaps that information of where that vehicle has showed up in the historical information in the town on automated license plate readers can help them to connect that vehicle to those crimes.
So, question, given the officers are able to input the vehicle's license plate into the system and based solely on probable cause, and without first getting that warrant, how does the department ensure that this practice doesn't circumvent the Fourth Amendment?
Um, well, I mean, we we can make a traffic stop or detain somebody on probable cause or even reasonable suspicion. And all that is covered by the Fourth Amendment.
Okay.
And we let me I got a little information here I pulled out for this. So our officers are all have been trained on the proper ways to use the LPR system, how to input vehicle information into the system. For example, we we don't actually have to have a license plate number. It's way more effective if you have a license plate number. But if we have, for example, a hit and run accident and the officers arrive on scene and the victim says, I don't know the license plate, but what hit me was a blue Chevy pickup and it left in that direction, then we can put into the LPR system a blue Chevrolet pickup truck, and we can look and see if that comes up on the LPR system. Now, that doesn't give us the evidence to arrest somebody, but you may on the LPR system see a blue Chevrolet pickup that left that scene and was picked up on an LPR camera a mile away 2 minutes after the accident occurred. Then officers can go and investigate. And if they find that Chevy pickup with the license plate that the LPR reader will show, and there's scrapes on the vehicle that match the scrapes, that then it's all part of the evidentiary purpose. So it's not necessarily probable cause to arrest. Now, in the example that Assistant Chief Edelstein gave, they've already got probable cause to make an arrest in that one for multiple burglaries or something like that. And they've got the license plate reader, that can just help them in finding that vehicle. But I mean, I've got a bunch of examples here of successes that we've had since we've had the LPR systems, that have helped us to keep our community safe, or to arrest people that have committed crimes, and in one case to prevent a possible mass shooting or something like that, that have all come from our use of the LPR system. So
Okay.
you asked about the Fourth Amendment. I'm really not trying to skip the question. Our officers are trained in not violating the Fourth Amendment. We train on that all the time. At least every year, they've received tons of training on that. And every report is reviewed. And so, you know, I mean, it's just not something that we do. We very much are concerned about the rights of our citizens and our public.
Okay.
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 I'm gonna take a drink of water. Hang on.
Okay.
Okay.
So regionalization, you have quite a few partners.
Mhm.
I have to give you kudos because you actually use the flock transparency portal,
Yes.
which is very rare here in Arizona. There are only, I
The
think, like four.
Prescott Valley Police Department, we are very, very serious about transparency and being honest with our community. And so that's actually in our policy, that we will maintain that, and we do everything that we can to maintain that.
And it's interesting out here in Goodyear. I had asked why are they not using it, so I think they're actually looking into it. And they told me they'd give me a couple weeks. But thank you. And then also, and this is something I noticed at the end of that transparency portal, there was the link that didn't go through. But thank you for providing me that document with your policy. So I'll link that in the story so people can look at that too.
Sure.
Okay. So one of the other things Assistant Chief Edelstein had said was the benefit of regionalization is that the officers can look at the cameras outside its jurisdiction without having to ask for permission. Do you feel that you have a good supportive network?
I think so. I think so. I'll give you an example. This is actually goes back to when I was a detective sergeant before we had our LPRs. And we had a case where we had a juvenile home here in town, and it was young men who had been arrested for multiple crimes, but they weren't quite to the level that they needed to be in the juvenile Department of Corrections, and so they were in kind of a halfway house. And three of them overpowered and almost murdered one of their overnight staff members, and then stole the van from the halfway house and left. And we did some investigation. We got the license plate number for the van, and we put out a BOLO, be on the lookout, which we send out to all neighboring agencies and Yavapai County agencies. And about an hour later, Cottonwood PD got a hit on their LPR system for that van. And we found that it was heading towards Sedona. Sedona didn't have their LPRs at that time. We didn't have ours, but Cottonwood did. And we found that it was headed towards Sedona. We contacted Sedona Police Department. It turned out one of the young men had family in Sedona, and we were able to apprehend these young men that had committed this crime. They put the staff member, he was in the hospital for over a week. He almost died. And so we were able to to make an arrest on these young men who had committed a very serious crime and stolen a vehicle, thanks to Cottonwood's LPR system. And so, yeah, I think we have a very good working relationship with our neighbors. We will get hits on the LPR system from cases that the Prescott Police Department has put into the system. I've got some examples here of one where we had a missing person in August of this year, a vulnerable adult male who had left his home. He had some dementia issues, had left his home. They didn't know where he was. We put it in the LPR system, and Chino Valley Police Department has LPRs, and they were able to find him, and we were able to locate him about 12 hours later, and he was still okay. We were able to get him the care that he needed. So yeah, I think we have a very good relationship with our neighboring agencies for sure.
Okay. Okay. So here's one of the things that comes up in quite a few discussions.
Mhm.
So you have 267 agencies reportedly that you share with. How can you ensure that those other 267 agencies are careful with your data?
That's actually something that the command staff had a discussion with about yesterday. And thank you for bringing this up and coming to us with this question, because it's something that we actually are going to figure out if there's ways that we can address to make sure we're very serious about minding the privacy and the rights of our constituents, of our citizens. And so how do we make sure that these other agencies are doing the same thing? That's actually something that we're going to take a look at and figure out if we're doing that the proper way, and how do we make sure that they're using the LPR system properly, and that they're using it specifically for crimes that have occurred, or to interrupt crimes that we see about to occur, and not for anything else.
I can't tell you how happy that makes me
Yeah,
to hear you say that, because it's a huge, huge concern in the
yes,
privacy world. And could you please keep me posted on that
sure.
when when you either know more about that or you have a discussion, because I think that is a huge piece to this puzzle, especially in America right now,
Yeah,
is I might share something with you, but how do I know that the folks in Florida won't use
right,
it for something
right.
else? So,
Exactly. And we see the communications and the concerns that are going around, with a lot of the population with license plate readers. We truly do not think that this is, Big Brother trying to keep it. We want to reduce fear of crime and crime in our town, and we want to improve traffic safety. And that's truly what we want to use license plate readers for. So yeah, we understand the concerns that people have there. I believe that in Prescott Valley, they really don't have anything to be concerned about. We truly are trying to use these specifically for reducing crime, and that's it.
okay. So January 2024, there was a Facebook post announcing that the town will be installing automated license plate readers. So I guess so. In when we had just talked about, you said these meetings are noticed. People are welcome to come to the meetings. Do you stand by? You feel like that's enough public notice, and then the Facebook post?
I mean, I I think so. I don't really know what more we could do other than public meetings, and with our meetings for the town council are announced publicly. There's an agenda that's posted that shows what's going to be on there. We get some town council meetings that are very, very, shall we say, vociferous from the community about things that are going on in the community. For example, right now there's a discussion about a quarry that may or may not be built here in town, and we have had people showing up for months, and they will continue to show up to argue about this quarry. And so because of that, because of my experience since I've been in the command staff here and going to town council meetings, we have 2 command staff members that are at every town council meeting. So we attend every single one, unless again, it's an emergency session that the council calls where that's just council members. But other than that, we're there for every meeting. And so, yeah, I truly do believe that's how we get the word out to the community on the things that we're doing. And that's how the council gets the word out. And oftentimes we get, at times several hundred people that show up, and they'll have the call to the public at the beginning of every council meeting that sometimes can go for over an hour because you get multiple people that voicing their concerns. And so, I know you asked how many residents attended. I don't know. I personally did not attend those meetings. But our public pays attention to our council meetings. They pay attention to the things that are on the agenda, and they come and speak out about things they're concerned about. So,
Okay. May 2024, you put in the first camera, you installed the first camera. October, there's an informational forum for businesses and HOAs about Flock products. So, how did this come about? Did Flock come to you and say, oh, by the way, if people want to buy our products, or was this an idea that you?
no, that was actually something completely different. That's actually my unit so I knew
Okay.
exactly what that meeting was.
Okay.
We were attempting to get businesses and HOAs and residents basically that have their private security camera systems to link into our system to help prevent crime or to arrest criminals when crime has occurred. That wasn't actually Flock coming to us, asking us to do that. That was us trying to reach out to our businesses and our community members to assist us in improving video coverage, camera coverage within the town. And I can tell you, we had almost nobody attend that meeting.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah. So that was my unit that did that. So I know specifically about that meeting.
I just interviewed the Goodyear PD, and they're putting together a virtual block
Yep.
watch.
Yep.
Are you
Same
thinking
thing.
is this kind of like that, or
Yeah,
are you
we
doing?
meet, so that once again, that's under my purview, so I'm very familiar with that. We meet all the time with our HOAs and our businesses. We're more successful meeting with our HOAs and block watches. We have a pretty robust block watch system in Prescott Valley. At this year's National Night Out back in August, we had 18 different block watch parties. So most of those are within our HOAs. We have hang on, I'm gonna count. We have 6 fairly large subdivisions within the town of Prescott Valley that all have pretty robust HOAs. And so yeah, so we have a virtual block watch. It's not where we would like it to be. But we have a fairly robust block watch system that's not virtual here within the town.
Do you have quite a few participants, like
Oh,
private organizations providing the video?
no, we haven't gotten much success with
Okay.
that at all. But we also so we use an evidence management system called Axon. It's, they're
Mhm.
just as famous as Flock in the law enforcement world. And so one thing that we do is when we have crimes that occur, if we go and we're investigating the crime and someone says, well, I may have gotten some video of that on my camera system, is we'll give them a card with a code number, and they can actually go and download the video from their system into our case folder for that specific case. And it would only be the video that they down. So it doesn't give us, 100% access to their camera system. It would only be what they recorded from whatever the incident was, and they give to us. We've tried to improve our video block watch and the HOAs. We haven't had much success with that. We have had success with people giving us videos of crimes that their camera systems have caught on tape,
Okay.
on video.
Okay. So now let's go to this year. In June 2025, Assistant Chief Edelstein says the police department hunts down the people that drive aggressively on your roadways. And in fact, the plates of reckless and aggressive drivers are then entered into the hot list.
Traffic right now is very deep into using the system because they hunt down people that drive aggressively on our roadways. Our public is great about calling us when we have aggressive drivers on the roadway. Frequently, these individuals are called in multiple times before we're finally able to identify them and apprehend them. But the traffic team is now able, through the pictures that this license plate reader camera is taking of vehicles as they pass, they're able to do a search. So let's say there's somebody who's been reported 3 or 4 times driving recklessly on 89A in a blue pickup. They can go in the system and they can enter blue pickup and a time frame, and it'll show them every photo of a blue pickup that drove past that camera, that time frame. So now they can identify these aggressive drivers and be proactive about enforcing against them. And even some prevention work can be done to where we just, go to a house and knock on the door and say, listen, your vehicle has been reported as aggressively driving routinely at this time of the day. We would appreciate it if that's you, if you would cut it out. And then on the other hand, at times, we know now when they're driving exactly and where they're driving, and then we can wait for them in a more targeted fashion.
You mentioned earlier in reference to like an aggressive driver that's been repeatedly reported. Does that aggressive driver know that they're in the system? Will they be told that, hey, your license plate is getting entered and every time you're driving around, you're going to be tracked?
Yeah,
I'm sure on how that would work, right?
That's a good question.
Where do you draw the line on that?
Yeah, good question. I'll follow up on that and get back to you.
That's all. And then how that happens. Like, does my neighbor report me as an aggressive driver and the officer just goes off of the neighbor's report, puts me in the system, and now I'm being tracked around Prescott Valley and Prescott?
Generally speaking, and I'll verify all these things and get back to you through the town manager's office, the traffic team doesn't use it for those reasons until there's multiple complaints and they can't catch them themselves, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then when they're elusive, or many times these aggressive drivers are they're running from our traffic team. They're running from our patrol officers, especially motorcycles. And so we're not pursuing because we don't run after those people, right? It's not
Awesome.
safe. So that's a lot of the times when the system's used for this purpose, but I'll get you more detail.
Perfect. Chief, who decides which vehicles or which license plates get entered into the system?
Thank you. Great question. So it's an individual officer's decision. We train them on the parameters. Some of our professional staff does have the ability to do so as well. And they make the decision to put it in the system. When they do that, though, there's a box they have to fill in. And usually they're putting a report number in there, because almost everything has a report number. Sometimes maybe if it's a preliminary investigation, they'll use a case number or a CAD incident number, something like that. But there's that check and balance.
Because you can see someone could say they went by a bar, entered every license plate, parked at a bar, and wanting to know if those vehicles leave and hit the street, and kind of see the possibility of
misuse is there, sir. And you reminded me as well, Mayor, thank you for saying vehicle. I don't know why I didn't think of this before. We have 2, and these are kind of a test phase thing. We have 2 license plate reader capable dash cameras in traffic, and they love them. Not just because they're reading plates as they're driving around, which is a little bit different than our fixed license plate readers, but also because the cameras are capturing the behavior of the driver before the traffic stop, which, as you know, Mayor, is very important for court.
My final question is for the gentleman representing Flock. I figured you already came out here. You might as well at least go to the podium for a minute, right? So I'm sure you hear this a lot, or you've had this questioned, and I've seen it before too. Like, this is a great tool for our law enforcement officers. but it's that fine line, right, where you have those people that argue Big Brother is watching. What do you say, or what does your company say to those folks?
Yeah, no, look, I appreciate that question, Mayor, and Council. Thank you for having me here as well. But the system, we try to draw as much parameter as we possibly can to make sure that there is an audit trail and make sure that there's not a misuse in the system. So, for example, if we get a report for an erratic driver or like somebody that might be a drunk driver, right, and then we're entering into the system, all right, looking for a white Honda, and it's got maybe some other key identifiers like a windshield sticker. Then now we're going to put that in the system, but it's not going to return any results unless you tie it to a case number or some sort of search reason. So without a search reason into the system, you're not going to be able to return any results. And then furthermore, I'll echo what Chief Edelstein said as well, is that we have a 30-day retention policy on this so that we're not just holding on to data and getting to the point where we're over-policing.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Are these drivers notified, and do they know that they could be tracked in these 267 other locations around the country? And then okay, so here I was thinking about this morning. 16-year-old boy, he's driving recklessly. He gets put into this hot list. Now he's 25, he's matured a little bit, 30 years old. Is he still in this hot list system? Can he get out of it?
I don't really know how that works. I can tell you that, at that point, once again, that's not probable cause to make an arrest, just being in that system. It's evidence that this vehicle was driving reckless at this time. Now, our LPRs don't have facial recognition, and generally you can't recognize the driver of the vehicle that's driving the vehicle when it hits on the LPR. Okay. And so all you see is the vehicle, okay, and the back of the vehicle with the license plate. And you might be able to tell, oh, there's one passenger in the vehicle, or there's three, or something like that, but that's it. We don't have any facial recognition technology or anything like that. So it's just evidence that the vehicle was near that scene whenever whatever it is that occurred. And then the officers have to do investigation and talk to people, and so we can't just arrest off of that, is what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
But I guess my question is, are they notified that they've been put into the system? I mean, in the meeting it said, yeah, if someone has been reported 3 or 4 times, we put them into the system. Are they notified?
Well, once we contact them, yeah, absolutely. The officers will follow up on those things. I can give you an example. We had back in the summer specifically, we had a significant problem with some street racing style motorcycles in this Tri-City area that were driving at extremely high speeds, extremely recklessly, multiple times. And the one specifically that I'm talking about, it was one motorcycle that was seen over and over driving very recklessly. Multiple times police had tried to stop that vehicle and it had run from them. And I'm sure you probably know this, but these high-speed street racing style motorcycles, if they decide to run from police, we're almost certainly not going to catch them unless we have a helicopter up or something like that, which we don't have. So that motorcycle's license plate and the description of that motorcycle was put into the LPRs. Our traffic division did a lot of investigation. They were able to find the motorcycle, and finally were able to make an arrest, okay, because they were able to track down the motorcycle, and they had quite a few videos, not only from the LPRs, but from officers that had attempted to stop the guy, and from just citizens who had caught this young man doing extremely high speeds on the roadway. The kid was 16 years old. If we hadn't have stopped him, I am certain that he would have eventually, the way he was riding multiple times a week, this went on for about 3 weeks, would have eventually seriously injured himself or somebody else. And it turns out, it's a long story short, that it turns out the kid was not even being watched by a parent. His mom, who he lived with, was staying in Phoenix with a boyfriend all the time, and so the kid was just on his own, just creating havoc. And um, so yeah, if they show up in the LPRs, if they show up, and our officers are going to investigate, and we're going to go and track them down and talk to them. Sometimes arrest, sometimes not. It could be, oh well, that's my car, but my son drives it, and my son doesn't live at this address or something like that. Here's where my son lives.
Okay, if I'm in your hot list system and I'm driving through Prescott Valley and you see me come by, or
Mhm.
do you have to have a reason to pull me over, or is just being in the hot list good enough for you to pull me
Okay,
over?
so the hot list is not a good term for what we don't publish a list of vehicles but what we do is, if we have a crime that has occurred, we will put the license plate number and information into the LPR system. And if that license plate number goes by one of the LPR readers, then our dispatch will get a notification of what we call an LPR hit. Okay.
Mhm.
And then they will put that out on the over the radio. And our officers will then attempt to find the vehicle for whatever the LPR hit is. And
Okay.
um, so I don't know why Assistant Chief Edelstein was talking about hot lists. Hot lists is something that our detectives use for, like, if we've got multiple burglaries occurring and we've got a possible suspect or something like that. It's a different sort of thing. But we get LPR hits, and we get them fairly often, and it can be our case, it can be a Prescott Police Department case, it could be a case out of Phoenix, because they are all customers that were sharing information for these vehicles. So the example I'll give you was this last summer, where we got and no, that is not enough information for us to arrest just off of that. We
And
have
I get,
to. So
so like if I'm reckless driving in Goodyear and they put me into their system, but I'm up in Prescott Valley and I'm driving okay.
yeah, no, we couldn't arrest on that.
Okay.
Um, but
Could you pull
now
me over?
Goodyear might be able to contact you, pull you over in Goodyear, and might be able to do some investigation. Maybe there was a video of the reckless driving when it occurred or something like that. They might be able to take actions on that. Absolutely. But we wouldn't.
Okay.
So this last summer, we got an LPR hit on a vehicle that was wanted out of Santan Valley, so Maricopa County, for the vehicle was wanted as a stolen vehicle. Okay. So we got the description of the vehicle and the license plate. Our officers saw it at one of the Circle K's here in town. But then, just because we had the LPR hit, the officers still had to come up and run the vehicle's license plate in their own system and have the system tell us, yes, this is a stolen vehicle. So now we've got two different systems telling us this is a stolen vehicle. So now we've got a reasonable suspicion to make a stop on the vehicle. We didn't have to stop it. It was at Circle K. And so the officers pulled up behind it. It turned out the driver was wanted for vehicular homicide, vehicular manslaughter, out of Santan Valley. And she had stolen a vehicle from a family member to leave the area. And so that's a huge success story on what it wasn't our case. It was out of Santan Valley. It was off of a stolen vehicle. But just because we had the LPR hit, we still had to confirm when we saw the vehicle that, yes, this is a stolen vehicle. And then turns out the driver, she was wanted for vehicular homicide, had a warrant out for her arrest for that. So that's what this system can do if it's used properly.
And then did you say you would be able to check and see if someone is able to get their name out of the system? Or do you
Well,
know?
our system only maintains stuff for 30 days. Okay. And so um, a vehicle drives on Highway 69. Every vehicle that drives on Highway 69 is captured by the LPR. They're only held there for 30 days. They're only held in our system for 30 days. Once they're out of that system, once that 30 days is over, all those pictures are deleted. Now, if a detective is looking for the specific vehicle, then they take the recording from the LPR and they put it into our evidence system into their case. And so that's a different story because that's actually an active case.
Right.
But as far as just being in the LPR, it's 30 days and it's gone.
So even if you flagged me as an aggressive driver at day 31, that's out?
Yeah, unless and the example you used was Goodyear, unless Goodyear PD took the video of you as an aggressive driver, which the LPR probably won't capture that anyways, because it's a still photo of the vehicle driving by, and put that into their case report. Yes, it's going to go away. 30 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'll be 10 years down the
No.
road. Okay. Okay. Okay, that's a good point to know that.
Yes.
Okay. The other thing, Assistant Chief Edelstein had talked about facial recognition coming to Prescott Valley. Can you talk a little bit about that?
With the live feed cameras, it would seem that the next step would be facial recognition software. And is there any move afoot to implement that?
So I can answer that question by saying there is talk of it. It's not a capability of the system yet. So I don't want to get into the specifics of what they are talking about doing because that may not become a reality, but it is a conversation. We do have a facial recognition policy that we're working with. Legal's seen it. We've bounced it off of a few other people. And what I can say, Councilman, is that if we do allow that capability within the system, it'll be very well guided by policy and training.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
I truly can't. I know next to nothing about facial recognition, how it works. I know that some agencies in the nation have it. I know that but we do not have it right now. And I don't know of any facts that it's actually coming here anytime soon. I know next to nothing about how it works or anything.
Okay. And then could you please double check on that one for me too?
Sure.
Because he had said in the meeting that it's already gone through legal and that he would follow up with counsel on that. So I just want to make sure that I'm up to date on that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that down, Jen, okay?
Okay, yeah, that's great. Well, I really appreciate you talking with me. I think that you've cleared up a lot of questions and the transparency is very helpful.
Yeah, and Chief Ticer is a huge believer in transparency. We want to be completely upfront and honest with our community. Obviously, there's times when something's under an investigation that we can't talk about it so much, but that's very important to us. I wanted to give you one more example of something that we had that really showed. My note. Shoot, I don't have it. I can't find it. We had a case where a family member called in for one of his or her family members that was upset at a doctor's office.
Oh, I read about this.
Yes, and was upset about the doctor's office. And I don't know the specifics of why they were mad. That supposedly they were going to the doctor's office and we're gonna voice their anger, but they were very concerned about the safety and what their family member may do. They called us. We put the vehicle into our LPR system. We got a hit as it was coming into Prescott Valley. They found the vehicle, and the gentleman driving the vehicle, he did have a gun in the vehicle. And so whether the gun was actually going to be used in the doctor's office, I can't say that 100%. But once again, that's something that shows how the LPR's system can be used to proactively prevent something from happening. Luckily, in this case, a family member was concerned enough to call us, which is one of the things that we really try to talk to our community about, which is if you see something, say something. And so that happened, and we were able to maybe prevent something really horrible from happening. Maybe it wouldn't have happened. Maybe he was just going to go there and yell at the office manager. I don't know, but it allowed us to prevent something from possibly getting really out of hand.
I just really appreciate everything you do for the community and, protecting the people and even putting yourself in harm's way to make sure that the people are safe. It's greatly appreciated, and I appreciate your time. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you would like to discuss?
No, just that as I said, when you asked me about the technology and law enforcement, I was not a huge believer on what the LPR systems could do until we started seeing these successes of how we have solved crimes or prevented crimes from happening, or prevented crimes from becoming even worse crimes for our community. And so I truly believe we're not Big Brother. We don't want to be overwatching our community. We just want to keep our community safe. And so I think that's very important.
So I actually FOIA'd my own plates, and I got
Oh,
the pictures back. So I can see my husband was making fun of me.
can you see your face in it?
No,
Yeah,
it's
see,
just,
that's
yeah, it's just the car in the back of the car.
yeah.
It's interesting. So out here in Goodyear, I rarely leave home. I've been a caregiver. I rarely leave home,
Mhm.
and they keep data for 6 months.
Okay.
So can you take a guess how many times they got my one vehicle? How many times I was?
I I wouldn't even fathom a guess.
So my one vehicle hardly leaving the house was 125 hits.
Holy smokes.
Yeah,
We had
125.
someone that just did a FOIA to us. This is a hot topic thing right now, and wanted to know how many times their vehicle had showed up in our.
That was probably me.
It
Yeah,
was
that was me.
okay. It was you.
So, but
Okay.
I have to ask you about that because I go up there probably every other. My daughter plays volleyball up there,
Oh, okay.
and so I was surprised it was only four, and it was that one morning because I've been up there several times. So I didn't. Are all the cameras working?
They're all working. It's not foolproof. You don't all the if there's another car that's in between the camera and where, then the camera won't get it. So it's not 100%, not by any means.
Okay.
So yeah. So um yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. I'm glad I asked you that
Yeah.
because I would have assumed it was every time I pass a camera, but it's only when they can clearly see the plate.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Here.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.